Hello, everyone, and welcome to our usual Tuesday edition of Speaking Moistly with our unusual new guest, Chanel Pfahl. How are you today, Chanel?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are
Wonderful.
you?
Join me. I'm great. She's joining me today. And if you don't know who Chanel is, Chanel got in trouble. She's a former teacher, current teacher. What's your teaching status?
Yeah, currently in good standing.
A current teacher with an Ontario board that is. Can you talk too much about? Can you give us the overview of what's happening with regards to that?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not currently teaching, but I am an Ontario teacher. I have my OCT membership. So
Okay.
right now, what's happening is the Ontario College of Teachers is investigating me because I made some comments on a Facebook group that were critical of critical race theory.
Mhm.
And I was already investigated for those comments by my old school board, which was in Barrie. They investigated me for about a month. They suspended me for a week without pay. And then I thought that was kind of over. But a whole year later, now the Ontario College of Teachers is investigating me for the same thing. So
Interesting.
that's still in progress.
Interesting. And so, okay, with that as the backdrop, and you being critical of critical race theory, you are now running for school board trustee position in which riding or which area, which city?
So I'm running in Ottawa. I'm running for the Ottawa Public Board, so the OCDSB, in Zone 8. So Orleans, Cumberland, Navan.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we were talking in the green room. I'm also running for trustee position in my riding as well in Guelph, wards 1 to 5. Okay. So, but the interesting thing is we were talking in the green room and we were talking about how it has to be running an election. There are often so many variables that you can't count on winning. You can't say when I win as the reason that you're going to engage with this election or get involved as somebody who's going to articulate the arguments. And for me, it's always getting involved in an election like this is always about articulating the arguments well, because often arguments are misrepresented or articulated clumsily, and sometimes I articulate arguments clumsily as well. Not perfect, certainly, but the misrepresentation is what I want to focus on. So people are talking about. Oh, somebody's calling me. People are talking about. Sorry, people are talking about uh, getting involved in the school board situation. And if you're not 100% on board with critical race theory, for example, or for gender theory, then you are, well, misrepresented as an understatement. What's your reason for running? Why are you running?
Well, I'm running because I'm concerned about woke ideology in schools. And I think there's a lack of appreciation in this country for the freedom that we have and for free speech and for rational debate, really. So I think, concepts like equality and stuff like that have been kind of been demonized and stuff in favor of equity.
Mm-hmm.
I personally I want to treat everyone the same, regardless of their skin color and whatever they identify as, or what their whatever, right? Whatever immutable traits they have. But now that all of a sudden has become racist, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm concerned, and I want to give a voice to, I think, what is a silent majority.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what the turnout is, but I think a lot of people are just scared to speak about this, obviously, because they see what happens to people who do speak out, like what
Yes.
happened to me. So,
Right. Right. And yeah, you think when you become a teacher, you're set. There's a certain, not a certain mindset, but if you keep your nose clean, you're doing your job, et cetera, et cetera. I know a lot of teachers who have made wonderful careers and 30 years goes by in a snap. And
Mhm.
it seems like these days, if you have an opinion that's outside of an approved opinion, if you talk about critical race theory with a critical eye, if you say, hold on a second, these ideas haven't even really been discussed. I don't know if I agree with them. I
Mhm.
don't, I certainly don't know if these kids' parents agree with them. And how can that be mediated. I ran into a situation where I was trying to communicate with, well, I think you and I did. I'm sure I sent you my 7-part series on critical race theory in the Upper Grand School Board. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you did. I had to look at that
Yeah,
a few months ago.
it happened. I mean, it happened 2 years ago. So when you brought it up, it had already been something that had been permeating and already been rolled out into classrooms, rolled out into teachers training, PD, all of that kind of professional development, PD days. And it's something that as it takes further hold, it's difficult to dislodge. And I think this election, I saw a newspaper article. I don't think I've ever seen a newspaper article about school trustees, but you and another school trustee in Ottawa were targeted by this CTV news article, talking about how the things that you say on Twitter are not acceptable by some specific LGBT activists. So they went and found some activists who disagreed with you and said, "Can you believe what this person said? This person can't believe it." Fight, fight, fight.
Yeah,
Weird.
self-proclaimed LGBT activists. I mean, I just
Yeah.
put on Facebook in my Twitter name, Chanel Pfahl, real LGBT advocate, because
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, what if they can just say that they're LGBT advocates and then be considered, I don't know, experts or whatever? Why can't I?
Yeah.
I'm
Self-proclaimed.
advocating for lesbian, bisexual, gay, whoever, as well, because I value human beings, and I think
Mhm.
all human beings are worthy of respect and dignity and whatever. So
Just yeah, and just the way they are. I don't think that we need to go through all sorts of um, surgery in order to be fully actualized. And this is a relatively new phenomenon. And Billboard Chris covers that. We'll let Billboard Chris talk about that. We'll not get too distracted. What did you think was going to happen when you brought this up with the board? When you first started thinking about this in a way that you thought, no, I'm not gonna go this way. I'm gonna bring up my concerns. Did you bring it to a principal or a department head? Did you bring it right to the trustees? How did you go about trying to solve your problem?
you mean back when I was teaching, like a few
Yeah,
years ago?
yeah.
Well, I guess what I started out just speaking on social media a little bit. I would share articles and post some comments every so often, and I was trying to be careful in a way. I didn't want to be too polarizing or anything like that, but I did want to just voice a different viewpoint and tell people that there's another way to think about these issues. And it wasn't long, just a few months after I started speaking up on social media, that somebody reported me online. So I didn't really have that much of a chance to speak out in the school that year. I still have some fairly major health issues right now. So that year I was kind of in and out of the classroom, and it was really difficult for me to keep up with my job just because of my health. So I wasn't really able to push back as much as I would have liked to.
Mhm.
But and then I ended up like quitting like in August of last year because of my health. So it's unfortunate because I'd like to
Mhm.
still be in there pushing back. I wish I could be doing that right now, but I know at least a lot of other teachers are reaching out to me and saying that they're trying to uh, do that in the schools. So that's really nice to hear.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. There's been lots of attention to libs of TikTok and other accounts that highlight teachers who seem to be behaving in a predatory way, and that's really concerning. And not so much in Canada. I haven't seen a lot of that focused in Canada, but the fact that it is occurring in the United States and other places where the same kind of ideology is being encouraged is concerning. And as somebody who has worked with kids for a very long time, um, when predators find access and nobody closes that access off, man, it's very concerning. And so, how to meaningfully um, address these issues in a way that is beneficial and sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Oh,
no, no, I didn't say anything.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is beneficial and meets the needs of the education system, and
Mhm.
also, there's a lot of people who are trying to make a lot of hay by, like, keeping on critical race theory, by using divisive language, like calling kids with lighter skin colonizers or colonial something or other. And Upper Grand District School Board, for example, has black brilliance groups for kids with darker skin who need academic support. And I think one of the biggest injustices anybody could do is say access to education, any kind of education. If your grades warrant support, but your skin color doesn't, that is a massive problem. And I think that any kind of litmus test that has to do with the the color of your skin should be abolished. And I can't believe that that has to be relitigated now. I was going to school in the 90s. I thought this was solved.
I know, and I think that's the reason that so many people don't even know it's happening, because they can't even believe that something like that would be happening. Like they have no idea. Like, why are we segregating kids? Why are we doing this stuff?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's truly ridiculous. And the people peddling it are so confident that they're doing the right thing. It's scary. It's the ideology has just shifted their worldview so completely. And
Mm-hmm.
if you ask these people 10 years ago what they thought of dividing kids by their skin color, they would all be against it. I am sure of it. And now for some reason it's been repackaged and they love it. So
Yeah, and it didn't take all that much repackaging. Calling it anti-racist when the whole premise of the program is racist. It if and I was using this as an example on my show earlier today, talking about if anybody said, or if anybody's policy said, all dark colored skinned people are fill in the blank, doesn't matter what fill in the blank is, that would be a racist policy. I don't care what the fill in the blank is. That's racist. Why are we focusing on this? Why are we telling kids this is important? Why are we telling? I told my daughter the other day, I said, are you responsible if Dedo, my dad, if your granddad makes a bad choice, are you responsible for that? And she said, no, daddy. I said, I know you laugh, but you're not responsible for that. You are not responsible for other people. The only
mhm.
person you're responsible for is you. And that is what's missing. You have personal accountability and responsibility to yourself. And there's no way that a collective of people, or this group guilt should overtake that. But it seems like that's what's happening, right?
Yeah,
And
I
these
mean,
kids
it's
are
like
being,
what happened in North Korea, or what still happens in North Korea. You have
yeah,
a great grandparent that did something, and then you get punishment for it.
right.
It's the same thing, except it's not even based on your great grandparents' behavior. Most of us here, just we have my grandparents. I, have they came over from Europe. They had absolutely nothing. They lived in poverty. They worked hard. They got their, you know, they worked for what they had, and they're great people. So
Mm-hmm.
what is up with all of this? It's like people have just, I don't know, they have no historical perspective. They don't want to think critically about these issues, because it's just
Mm-hmm.
easier to say, okay, well, this group's bad, this group's good, and if I have this worldview, then I'm good, and so I will keep on
Well,
repeating
until the
the same thing.
machine comes for you. The thing is, the idea of going along to get along works until you're not willing to go along to get along anymore. Until you, and then it's the second you push back, it's you get cut off. And I don't know how long that can be maintained. But I'm every day I'm shocked how much further things seem to progress, because there was a time where I thought that people would be shocked about finding out that critical race theory was a really integral part of the course delivery in Canadian schools. And gender ideology and gender theory, radical gender theory, are part of that too. I thought people will wake up when this gets bad enough. And all that's happening is kids are being taught that they're bad because of their skin color. And they're being
Yeah,
taught
I
that they
mean,
have.
what the left does really really well, and actually I probably shouldn't say left, because it's more what the authoritarians do really
Mhm.
well, is that whenever there's an argument from our side, whatever we want to call it, I don't like saying side either, but
Yeah.
whatever, we have to understand each
Whenever,
other. So
yep.
whenever there's some kind of argument, like we say, oh, critical race theories in schools, it's not good, for example.
Hmm.
Right away, they come up with some rationalization that goes
Hmm.
to get your emotions, right?
Yes.
So they say to people like, no, this is wrong because of this. And then the people don't have to think, because the reason to support their side is already packaged for them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They can just repeat it.
The
So
rationale
what
is
we
right
hear
there.
a lot is like, oh no, critical race theory is not taught in schools. It's like, okay, maybe it's not, maybe the theory of, like, we're not teaching them,
Yeah.
the whatever you'd be teaching in university, but you're teaching kind of the watered down version of the concepts, and that is very clearly in our schools. You can find it in the government publications,
Yep.
that their
It is.
color blindness is racist and things like that. So
Yep.
that's all CRT. And,
Yep.
and then they'll say, they just have their arguments that they throw back at you, and they're just repeating mantras pretty much. So
Yeah. Well, and so the other thing, we kind of touched on this, but there's a cost to pushing back. So if you go along to get along, you don't pay that cost to pushing back. If you push back, just like you were talking about, they'll come and they'll start misrepresenting your argument. There are think tanks coming up with the packaging that you're talking about, the packaging up the argument so people can just disregard the sanity that you're saying. Like, listen, this is what they're telling these kids. But if they listen to you or me, they have a cost on social media. People will say, you're listening to that person who shook Pierre Poilievre's hand, or who did this, or who did that. Never mind Boyle or Atwal or any of the other people that Justin Trudeau's associated with, right? But Pierre Poilievre shaking this hand, and they'll do the same to you or me. Like, oh, that person believes in Maxime Bernier. That person's a PPC person. That
did you
person's this.
see
That person's that.
on
Did I
Twitter
see
the
it?
other day?
Oh
Someone
goodness,
posted a
probably.
picture. It's an Ontario teacher. He posted a picture of me with Maxime Bernier, and
Ah,
then a
see.
picture of Maxime Bernier with someone else. And then the person that Maxime Bernier was with someone else who was apparently a white nationalist. So it was like guilt by association by
So
association.
yeah, and that's
It's like,
freedom of
oh
association.
God.
We have that. We're supposed to be free Canadians who are allowed to talk to and speak with whoever we want. And right, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and bam, they gotcha. Right, bam, we've
Yeah,
nailed you
yeah,
now.
yeah.
That's it. And
Oh
really,
my gosh.
it's insane. Well, and they've
Yeah.
weaponized the police force. So we say that people don't know what's going on. There's a silent majority. Or maybe a silent majority. I don't know. Um, we think there's a structure where the rules are all even, or maybe you and I don't, but society as a whole thinks there's some kind of rules are all even. And I think that the rules are maybe not all even. And that's why the only reason that I get into doing these election campaigns, I'd love to win, don't get me wrong, but my point is to articulate these arguments because it needs to be said, the things that we're talking about, and even more, like the reality of these things really needs to be articulated. And I mean, I've got some rhetoric that is too fiery for this interview, and I don't want to, it's very difficult in this environment as it is, when we mean well, or we're clumsily trying to articulate something, but with all the people trying to misrepresent the arguments and take things out of context, et cetera, like, man, there's so much more that needs to be said. But even the small steps we're taking now seem like very challenging things to take on.
Yeah, it is challenging in a way, I guess, especially at the beginning when you start pushing back on this stuff. The
Mm-hmm.
it's the vitriol that you'll be exposed to is insane, but it's all just meant to silence you
Mm-hmm.
and discourage you from keeping on going. And to
Yep.
me, I don't know what it is about me, but I don't deal well with that. I don't like being told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even from the people who are on my side, to be honest, I don't like it. Like, I don't like, people will come to me and they'll say, sometimes it's fine. Like, they're just suggesting, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do
Mm-hmm.
that. It's very nice. But some of them say, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't talk about this. You should block this person. You should. And I guess I'm a libertarian at heart. I don't want to be told what to do. And So that's, I mean, I share that vision that you have, which is kind of to, well, if I'm interpreting it correctly, is to express your platform, what you believe in, and
Mhm,
then see whether you get votes or not,
mhm.
rather than trying to pander and trying to, shape the message in a certain way so that people can will want to vote for you. I'm not for that at all. I think my views are completely reasonable, rational. I'm not
Mhm.
hateful, and I'm out there. I can voice my views on whatever. And
Yep.
if people like it, they can vote for me. And if they don't, well, then I won't be heartbroken. I'm gonna keep on
Yep.
speaking out about this. So,
Right, right. And it's not, you don't need it, you don't need anybody's permission to continue to speak out for
mhm.
children, for sanity to prevail, for these arguments to be taken seriously, and they should be taken seriously by the people who are at the board office, by the people who represent us as trustees, by the people who represent us at the municipal, provincial, and federal levels. I totally, totally agree. It's just, man, it's hard some days, you know. There are days where it seems like it's you're yelling into a hurricane, and the hurricane's just like, yeah, man, whatever.
Yeah,
So there
yeah.
are days.
Although I do get a lot more support than I get hate. That is for sure. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know if you, I'm sure by now you must be over that curve. Like, I know at the beginning it was like, okay, I'm losing friends, I'm losing followers, I'm
Oh,
losing, and I'm
losing
like,
friends.
oh my gosh, like it's okay though, because I know what I'm doing. I know why
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I know who
Yep.
I am. I'm not a shitty person. I'll keep
Yeah.
saying what I want. And that, it goes down, down, down. And then suddenly, I don't know, it comes to like an equilibrium or whatever,
Yep.
where you're kind of losing and gaining at the same time. And now I'm at a place where I really do feel that I have people in my community, people like friends, just people on Twitter, whoever, that it's not like we agree on everything,
Hmm.
but they support my right to disagree with them. Like, we're
Hmm.
able to have conversations again. And it's such a breath of fresh air. It's like
Yes.
whenever someone's like, Chanel, I disagree with you on this. It's like, oh my God, please
Yep.
disagree with me more. I would love to hear how you think about it.
Yep.
It's so nice to be able to do that instead of
Yep.
just silencing people and wanting to all have the same exact message, right? Like,
Yeah. But the point is to stifle the communication, because if you have a good conversation and you move a little and they move a little, you can get to a more perfect understanding. And the problem with that is, well, the ubiquitous they can't have us all getting along and all that. But all of that said, I think that the idea of losing friends and losing followers and all of that other stuff, the my Twitter following and all of that other stuff is well, I went through that during Trump. So when I
oh,
said
okay.
when I said I'm pretty sure Donald Trump isn't what everybody. I worked in the school board when Trump first started running, and I used to talk to a couple of people about politics a bunch. I really liked politics. I've always really liked politics, and we would talk every day. And then I said one day, because I hated Hillary, I thought she's terrible. I was like, even if you wanted, even if the other guy was so awful that you had to hate him, Hillary's just terrible. So I would tell them this. I was like, man, I don't think she's gonna win. She's just awful. And then she did the falling down thing at the memorial, and she got chucked into the van like the side of beef. I was like, Hillary's done. She's gonna lose. She's gonna lose. And then I stopped getting invited to the principals talks, and the because
Oh
I
no.
used to talk to the admins, and they right. And now they didn't want to hear from me, and I was right. I was bang on right. That was that. But so, and then other people, and I said, listen, you can't solve, or you can't have universal health care and an open southern border. That's crazy. I was like, imagine if people from the United States could come and get Ontario health care just because they crossed the border. How long would people in Niagara Falls tolerate that? They wouldn't. It
Mhm.
would not be okay. Like, people, you can't do that. That screws up the math of the taxation and the service delivery. It throws it completely out of whack. And my friends were, at the time, this is 2015, my friends were very upset with me. They were like, well, you don't understand. I was like, no, I get it. Math. It's, you got to find out amount of money, and you have to allocate that. And the people paying for that, they're not paying for other people to just cross in and take your health care. You have to solve one before you solve the other.
Yeah, oh my
I'm
God. Trump
sorry.
hatred is one of those things. It
Oh
just
my God.
makes
TDS.
it goes oh yeah, like it just makes people so irrational. And like
It's so
I
interesting.
need to say like I'm not a huge Trump fan or anything like that,
I,
but I definitely don't hate the guy. And
I
I
love
think
it.
he has some good ideas,
Sure, sure.
like
So my one of my favorite things is that people will couch thing if they support Trump. I was saying this, I don't know, 3 days ago to a friend of mine. I think if they support Trump, they'll say, "I don't love him. Hold on a second. Don't take me the wrong way. I don't like. I'm no Trump supporter." And I just think it's so hilarious, right? It's so funny because they all
yeah,
do.
well,
But
it's
peace
just
in the Middle East was pretty good. I don't know.
yeah, no, it's true. I probably shouldn't say that, because it's like why would I need to even qualify? It's like
Right? It's such a strange
whenever
thing.
people share like quote tweet Matt Walsh, I've noticed the
Yeah.
same thing. It's always, I don't
Oh,
usually agree with Matt
yeah.
Walsh, but
But
and it's but he's right again, but
yeah,
he's right again, but
yeah.
he's right again. It's
The
like, oh
funny
my
thing
god.
is people don't do that with Barack Obama, right? People don't say, "Oh, well, I don't want to be insensitive about anything, but here's what Barack Obama thinks." It's like, no,
Yeah, it's true.
it's so weird, right?
It is
Strange.
weird.
But anyway, there's so many things to talk about. Maybe we'll have you on again before the end of the election. My campaign hasn't started yet or anything to that effect. Really, I
Mm,
haven't rolled out my website or anything. But I am running, and I am looking forward to articulating these arguments with people. I actually have had conversations with other people in the Ottawa running for the district area, like for the same board that you're running for.
mm,
I think the interesting thing to note is so many non-binary or LGBT identifying candidates across Ontario, not just in Ottawa, but across Ontario. It seems to be something that is not necessary, but happening on quite a lot of campaigns. I'm interested to see that develop,
mm.
and how that will impact the vote. I'm not sure, but it's going to be an interesting election. I wish you luck. Is there anything we didn't cover that you want to mention to the audience?
No, nothing that I can think of. Yeah, it's great chatting. I'm happy that you're running, and so many others are running too. And
Yeah.
oh, I guess I should mention, if you're in the Ottawa area and say you're not in Zone 8, um, and you don't really know who to vote for, feel free to reach out, because I know some of the other trustees and some of
Mhm.
them are less public with their views. So it's, yeah, I might have some info there.
There
But
you go. And what's
yeah.
your email address if they wanted to email you, or how can they contact you? Not necessarily your public email or anything, but how can they contact you if they wanted to?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Chanel Pfahl. My last name Pfahl.
I can't believe
Uh,
I got that right, by the way. Nailed it.
yeah, or email me at chanel4trustee@gmail.com. Chanel, like the perfume.
Cool. All right. And I'll try and put a link to at least your Twitter profile in the description. And
Awesome.
we'll wrap it up there. So thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And everyone out there, thanks for watching. I have to call Greg. I'm going to call Greg because I forgot to talk to him. And we'll catch you next time, everyone.
Okay.
Quick shout
Bye,
out for
Mark.
anybody who's watching my usual stuff. I am going to probably not be posting until very late tomorrow, if I post at all. And I'll tell you why on Thursday. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.